Welcome back to the next episode of Ken versus the Stove, and today we're going to make Goetta. Now, for those of you that are unaware of what Goetta is, you poor benighted souls, Goetta is perhaps God's most perfect food, or it was, as my mom used to make it, and grandma I think. But you know, it's just this awesome food that we got as a kid. It wasn't until I grew up later as an adult and realized Goetta was one of those foods that when you were poor and you had to use the last of the meat, the stuff you really weren't going to eat otherwise, and you had to even stretch that. It was one of those things you made where you made kind of a meatloaf-ish type of thing, and it was served in my house pretty much exclusively for breakfast. Other places, I understand, some people do use it in other meals. We would take Goetta, which is a mixture of various meats and grains, and pour Cairo on it and have at, and it was awesome. So I'm going to try to make this. Now, there are others out there, heretics, who have these substandard versions of Goetta called Scrapple and things like that. I'm told by people who've tried both that the other versions just ain't in the same wheelhouse. I've not tried any others, but I know Goetta's good, so I'm going to try making it. Now, obviously, I don't have my mom's recipe, so I look up online. I got this, I actually printed it out today rather than trying to use a tablet to do it. Gotta say, I suspect this is fancier than what my mom used when she made it, because if for no other reason, it calls for sea salt, and I'm pretty sure sea salt never darkened the doors of the Lammers household when I was a kid. And it got other ingredients in here, spices and stuff that I'm pretty sure mom didn't use. But I'm an amateur, so I'm going to try using it the way they say to do it. And we'll see if later we need to remove some of these overly fancy ingredients from a good, basic, solid food. Anyway, let's get going. So, first we start out with one big pot. And in the big pot, the first thing we're supposed to do is put in broth. What do I do with the broth? Beef broth. And it's supposed to be 4 cups. Next thing I'm supposed to add is 2.5 cups, 4 cups of water. Next thing is salt. Okay, you're supposed to use 3 teaspoons of sea salt. And you're just going to have to live with Morton's, guys. Three teaspoons of good old-fashioned Morton salt. Next, bay leaves. Really? I bought some. Let's see if they're bought them a while back. Onion out of the way. And the garlic. Yeah, those friggin' bay leaves. Bay leaves. Marjoram. Okay. Now, from what I've read out there in the world, you can substitute oregano for marjoram. Well, I know I bought it. Ah! Marjoram! I knew I had it somewhere. Had to order this stuff specially from Amazon because the local grocery stores didn't have it. One and a half teaspoons of dried marjoram. And unless we make this again, that's probably the last time marjoram will ever be mentioned in this household. And now we add 2.5 cups of steel cut oats. Steel cut oats. Bring to a boil. Oh, in the meantime, I do need to chop the onion and mince the garlic. Got a new toy for this. Gonna see how well it works. Okay. So let's try this. I heard 5 to 86. It's just weird. I don't know what I'm going to do with a clove of garlic. Go out, vampire hunting. Okay. Well, the pot is simmering. It's never really gotten to boiling. Oh wait, it's starting. There's no way in the world I'm putting 5 cloves of garlic in this thing. Show me a clove of garlic.
Here's some information.
What is a clove?
Here's what I found.
One clove garlic.
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
1 clove of garlic.
Here's what I found.
Don't need to know what garlic is. I know what friggin' garlic is. Show me a clove. Actually, gonna have to type here. By the way, this is supposed to simmer for 90 minutes, so I'm just letting it simmer. Hey Siri, set alarm for 90 minutes.
I've set an alarm for 15:37.
So at 15:37, it should be done. Ah! Okay. I almost made a terrible mistake here, thinking that clove meant this, and this apparently is a bulb. Which somebody needs to tell my local grocery store, because when I ordered a clove, they gave me 6 of these. If anybody needs any extra garlic, I think I'm stuck with it. Messy, but nifty. Hey, and 1 large yellow onion to be finely chopped. Gotta say, folks, this little Black & Decker thing works pretty daggone well. And with that, we wait 90 minutes. Or actually right now, probably more like 70 or so. Well, it's been 90 minutes, so let's see. Ooh, not gonna do that. And wow, lots of condensation on that. So the next step is to add all the other spices and the meat and the garlic and the onions. Okay. Well, let's start with the garlic and onions. Well, okay. Expected that to be a little bit more than it was. The onions and garlic are mixed in. And spices. So let's see what are the other spices that it said to put in. 1/2 teaspoon ground coriander. It sounds like something that would be in Harry Potter. ¼ teaspoon of ground cloves. ½ teaspoon ground black pepper. And 1/2 teaspoon of freshly ground white pepper. Well, that's the closest we're getting, guys. One teaspoon ground mace. That would be this stuff. I have no idea what this stuff is. I mean, To me, a mace is some sort of medieval weapon. One teaspoon ground ginger. Okay. Here we go. And now we add the meat, which would be a pound of pork and a pound of beef. Here's my pound of beef, and it is 80% lean beef because I actually wanted it to have some taste as opposed to the 95% cardboard ground beef that you can buy. And here's the ground pork, which I had to specify would be all pork because basically my local grocery store kept wanting to give me some sort of substitute which was partially pork and partially beef. Return to boil. Okay, this is mighty thick. I'm iffy about whether this gets to a boiling temperature. Or if this is boilable. I don't know. Guess we give it a minute on high to see what happens. Okay, well it is actually need to turn on the anti-fire alarm device. And it is doggone. It's boiling. Kind of boiling around the clumps, but it's boiling. And now we leave it like that for an hour. Hey Siri, set alarm for 60 minutes.
I've set an alarm for 16:57.
Alright, 16:57. We see what's what. Okay, so we're back. It's been an hour. This stuff is supposed to be done. I have come back and stirred it a couple times. And so now it's done. In theory. Says you open it up, there shouldn't be any liquid left. If there is, then you... Holy crud, there's all sorts of liquid left. Okay, the answer now is you continue to cook with the top open until all the liquid's gone. So I guess means, well, we told you to put too much liquid in, so we're going to leave it in a way that it can evaporate. Okay, I want to take out these leaves. Not seeing those as something I want to bite into when I'm eating this. I suspect I'm going to have to give this another half an hour or so. Just boiling with the top open. I mean, cooking with the top open. Okay, we'll be back in a little bit, folks. And I'm back. Holy crud. If anything, it's turning more liquid. Okay, I'm going to have to assume that this semi-liquid form is what it's supposed to be. We're going to take the next step. It just can't be right. It does not feel right. We'll see. I don't remember it ever being this liquid when Mom made it. Oh well. Next. As seems to be normal when I cook something, the bottom of the friggin' pot is just filled with cooked on. Okay. Ouch, that's hot now. Even it out a little bit. I think that'll make it about even. Now, for those of you who are making it, when you do finish it up, assuming that this turns into what I expect it to, you then have to fry it after you've finished with this. The next step is going to be covering it. They want me to cover it with wax paper. Unfortunately, I don't have wax paper, so it's going to be aluminum foil. I'm assuming the wax paper is so it won't stick, I guess. I'm thinking maybe aluminum foil will do the same thing. The next step is to put them in the fridge overnight and let them solidify. I'm hoping with what I've done here that that's going to accomplish the mission. It still looked awful fluidy to me when it went in. But we'll see. So I'm not going to set a timer on the doggone phone this time because overnight, probably a little bit long for a timer. But we'll see what it is in the morning. Well, I'll see you then. Morning everybody, I'm back. This is Ken Lammer's pre-shower, but I'm gonna pull the Goetta out of the fridge. It warmed up my fridge. I had turned the cool up on it, so it should though be cooled down by now. I'm gonna pull it out, we're gonna fry it up, and then we're gonna see what we see. It is nice and cold. Let's see if it's nice and cold and solid. It's porridge. God bless. I'm going to glop some of it out and cook it anyway, because it hadn't turned into like a meatloaf consistency like it's supposed to. I'm thinking it's probably still edible, but it is not solid. It's supposed to be solid. I'm going to take it back. It's semi-solid. No way it's coming out of this as a solid piece though. Yeah, this recipe used too much liquid, I think. Methinks. Yeah, I need to use a little bit less liquid on it next time. Okay, just to be sure here, folks, understand that you do need to fry this to eat it, right? Because it spent a lot of time, that pork and beef spent a lot of time simmering with the oats last night, but I can see some in there that's not entirely cooked. So you're going to have to fry it. Put this back in the fridge. Now we're talking 5 minutes to fry it up, approximately. It should be, brown when you're done with it. Now, as you're making Goetta, don't be surprised when it breaks up into, it doesn't stay in those nice big slabs I just put in there. It's not going to happen. Okay, when I was a kid, we'd get this stuff and we'd eat it with Cairo. Which I think probably was, you get 100 calories out of the Goetta and about 5,000 out of the Cairo we poured on top of it. Smelling the spices coming up off this, don't think this is a eat it with Cairo situation though. Yeah, it's turned kind of a nice brown, light brown, most of it. I think it's done, so let's try it. The plastic fork, one of God's greatest gifts to bachelors. Wow. I mean, despite all my dubiousness, this is actually pretty good. I don't think I can eat this with, anything on top of it, because all the stuff we put in to give it flavor has given it flavor, and that would kind of ruin it. But other than that, it's really good. So I'm gonna go off eat my breakfast. I'll talk to y'all later. Okay, so made the Goetta, fried the Goetta, ate the Goetta, and gotta tell you, I give it about, I don't know, 4 out of 10. I followed the recipe, which came from the Daring Gourmet, by the way, to the T. This is not, though, what I grew up with as Goetta, right? Just way too many spices. When it was really hot, those spices tasted good and that, but as it cooled a little bit as I was eating it, it just became overwhelming. The taste of the spices was too much. So if I do this again, I would probably put the onions in it, but I think pretty much the rest of that stuff's going to go. It's just not there. It's not providing anything I really want. It's trying too hard, right? I think that whoever put this together was trying to take a simple kind of meal or add-on that was kind of started out as peasant's food, right? Because that's where a lot of food starts, and they tried to make it into something gourmet-ish and over added all sorts of spices that did not need to be there, and really overwhelmed the taste of it. So that was flaw one. That's easily fixable. I just don't put in all this, coriander, all the other stuff that ginger and everything that they put in this recipe. Part two was it was too fatty, right? Not too sugary, not too rich, just kind of too fatty. And as I ate it, and it got it cooled a little bit, I could taste that, and it left me with that kind of feeling you get when you've eaten something that's got too much fat in it, just plain fat in it. And until I got lunch today, it really kind of left me with that after feeling, right? Not thrilled by that, and do not remember that at all from Goetta that I've eaten. I see some possible solutions to that. The beef broth may have been too much. Maybe I should have used 3 and then 1 cup more cup of water, or 2 and 2 more cups of water, something like that. Or maybe just left 1 cup of beef broth out. It did seem like there was too much liquid in this thing the entire time. Maybe that's it. I don't know for sure. But I'm fairly certain that there were other things I can do that will fix this. Now, I used 80% lean meat, beef, which meant 20% fat, right? This is the best type of beef you can use when you're making something on a grill, right? But what you get is that a lot of the fat comes out when you're on that grill, and it just goes down and burns in the fire, right? So your burger shrinks, but it's still got enough in there that's cooked up. It really tastes good, but you've probably lost 10% of it, maybe 15% of it, is gone. Well, when you're not cooking it over something like that, or in a George Foreman grill where it just kind of renders out, the fat's still in it. So that's in there, and maybe using a leaner ground beef might work better in the future. Also, another option I think is when the beef and pork and the oats were boiling in together and mixing in together, I would come back to stir it every once in a while, right? You're supposed to stir it. And at the top, I would see floating on it, fat, grease, whatever, which had come out of the meat and come up to the top. Well, I mixed it back in, right? I think in the future, a better plan might be to dip it off and just get rid of it, because that would get rid of a fair amount of the fat, I think, and maybe make it work better. I'm going to have to try this a little bit, mess around with it a little bit and see where I go. Gotta say, those 2 big loaves of it like that, I'm not going to eat those. It's too much. So next time I'm going to try to reduce this somewhat and see what I can do with it. The dogs are going to be really happy because I think they're going to get one of these all by themselves. And I may eat sparingly out of the other one until I eat, until it's gone. But it's going to be a side thing with like eggs and whatever, so that it's not overwhelming me with that kind of you've eaten so much fat feeling. But that's it. Anybody out there who's got a good Goetta recipe, feel free to share it. I know I am going to try to hunt down Mom's somehow, somewhere. Who knows where that could be nowadays. But, it's good food if you can get it right. Like everything. First time you cook it, it ain't going to turn out as good as you'd like it to be. That you keep trying until you get there and you get a good version that you really like. And, since I grew up on Goetta, I'm going to keep trying. That's it for this episode of Ken versus the Stove. So until next time, I think that next week I'm going to try to do a black cherry cake. We'll see how that turns out. And ma salama, y'all.